You finally figured out you're a Therian. It makes sense, it feels right, and now you're ready to tell your parents. But suddenly the chest tightens. You are terrified they are going to laugh, misunderstand, or think that you've completely lost your mind. And let's be honest, if you just walk into the living room and drop the word Therian, you are setting yourself up for disaster. Yes, when parents hear a label they don't understand, their brain instantly panics and jumps to the absolute worst case scenario they recently saw on the news. Today we're going to show you exactly how to bypass that panic. We're going to use real psychology, tactics like the Grey Rock method, and the exact word-for-word scripts that other Therians have successfully used to come out to their families. But first you have to pass something we call the soft launch test, because if you skip this step, everything else is going to fail. So let's get into step 1, the soft launch. To pull this off, we're going to use a psychological technique called priming. The goal here is to casually introduce a concept over time, so it's not a massive shock later. This means, for now, do not wear your gear and do not talk about your stereotype. Instead, you want to bring up the concept of animal connections, naturally. You could say something casual like, "Hey, I was reading about how some indigenous cultures believe people have deep spiritual connections to specific animals. Have you guys ever felt connected to any animal?" Now just watch their reaction. If they roll their eyes and call it stupid, it means the environment just isn't safe enough for you to be vulnerable. In that case, stop. Do not push forward yet. But if they nod and say something like, "Oh yeah, your grandmother loved wolves," the door is officially open. And yes, it's time for the actual conversation. Enter step 2, the de-escalation script. Start by setting the stage. Pick a quiet evening or relaxed weekend afternoon when everyone is calm and you won't be interrupted. Once you have their attention, your primary goal is to control the narrative. And this is exactly where 90% of people mess up. It's because they don't realize that when discussing alternative identities, framing is everything. So we're going to use a framework called the sandwich method, a strategy used successfully by older Therians. Begin by layering the first layer with a reassurance hook to lower their defenses. You'll say, "Mom, Dad, there's something I want to share with you because I trust you, and I want us to be close." You see, suddenly they are listening to you as protectors. Now you drop the middle of the sandwich, the core message. Simply say, "I've realized that I experienced something called theriantropy. For me, it means I feel deep psychological connection to a wolf, like it's part of my personality and spirit." But you don't stop there. To make sure they don't spiral into panic, you immediately close the sandwich with a reality check that blocks their worst fears. You follow up with, "I want to be clear. I know I am human. I know I'm not physically an animal. It's just an internal identity and a way to express myself that makes me really happy." Wait, did you notice what we didn't say there? Well, we completely avoided mentioning phantom shifts, mental shifts, or the internet. Because if you overload them with Therian vocabulary right out of the gate, they will panic and think you're in a cult. That's why you have to speak their language first. But what happens if, despite your absolutely perfect delivery, they still freak out? Well, that brings us to the most crucial part of this whole process. Step 3, handling the freakout. Here's a harsh truth. A 2014 sociological study on the Therian community found that public misconception of this identity is incredibly high. So your parents might instantly confuse theriantropy with a literal medical delusion or some inappropriate internet subculture. If that happens and they start yelling or interrogating you, well, at all costs, do not yell back. Instead, use the Grey Rock method. Yep, you need to become as uninteresting and calm as a literal gray rock. Just say, "I'm going to go to my room for a bit so we can both process this. We can talk again later." Then walk away. Do not try to over-explain yourself, because you simply cannot logic someone out of an emotional panic. Now give them a few days to cool down, and then offer them a resource. But please, don't send them to TikTok. Send them to a mature, well-written article or a serious documentary that explains it from a psychological or spiritual standpoint. Even then, if they still don't get it right away, that's okay. Because ultimately, coming out as a Therian isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, and sometimes the most mature thing you can do is to realize that if you are safe, happy, and comfortable in your identity, their immediate approval isn't actually required for you to be valid. So whether you decide to tell them tomorrow, or next year, or never, know that you are not alone. To that end, if you've already had this conversation with your parents, or if you're thinking about it, share your experience in the comments below. Your story could genuinely be helping someone who's feeling just as scared and alone as you might be right now.